Alright, so we're going to show you how to use the Mercury Tools for Excel and PowerPoint. These tools let you format tables and import Excel documents into PowerPoint to be consistent with our report format. So, this tool lets you create tables that look like that. So here's an unformatted Excel document, and the Mercury US tab is where you get to these tools. The table format and table size items allow you to customize the tables. Chart Express and chart size allow you to customize charts. So we're just going to show you a couple of the functions: title, column heading, text, data, percent data. A few things to note: row heights need to be a certain way when you format the tables. Normal data rows need to be height 12. The title row needs to be height 18. Spacer rows need to be 6, and the column header needs to be 25.5. You can either manually resize them or right click and change the row height. Right click is the best option. We just applied table borders, applied subtotal format. Subtotal format is a top border and no bold. Total format is top and bottom borders with bold. Sizing your tables in order to get them into PowerPoint lined up with the grids, you need to size them appropriately. If you import without sizing them appropriately, it will look like this. It will exceed the two grid lines within the left and right column. The best way to size your tables is using the sizing box. Do not manually resize your tables in PowerPoint by stretching the table. It will turn out inconsistent with the other tables. So the best way to do this is using the sizing box. You see above the table, the pink box. You line up the left and right borders and you will match the grid lines without resizing in PowerPoint. Always make sure your source boxes are aligned with the tables. It'll be aligned when the red dotted line shows up. Next thing we'll show you how to use are the charting tools. Chart Express. You can create nice looking charts like this to put in your PowerPoints. So, first step is to highlight the data you want to chart, and then go to Chart Express. You can choose from these different chart options. For this instance, we're going to use stacked column. You can change the chart size. That was a small size by default. Medium is what you will typically see for a trending chart. Here we're going to edit the axis label. We're going to go through our data to make sure everything is in there that we want and delete unnecessary rows of data, like the blank row there. And revenue days. This company was on 544 accounting calendar, so you have spikes due to the accounting calendar. To change whether you want the things graphed in a line or a stacked column, you go right click, change data, change chart type. And then you can also check a box to graph something on a secondary axis, like the revenue per day metric, which is not similarly sized compared to the balance sheet. You can add an axis title by clicking the plus button. Note that the secondary axis and the related title are in the wrong font and size, so you need to change that manually. To change the axis labels, you can right click and you can edit a bunch of the options in format axis, like major and minor units and the alignment To change colors, you can right click and access the paint bucket there on the right. That thing allows you to change the colors. You can make a dashed line, a whole bunch of features. You can also add trend lines by right clicking. There are a whole bunch of things you will learn in Excel for graphs. That's pretty much it. Chart Express just gets you to a starting point pretty quickly, and then you can modify however you like to see it, however like your manager likes to see it, and to import, it's the same as importing a Excel table. You just highlight what you want to import, click import, and there you go. It's Chart Express. Nice tool. Next up, we'll show you some of the tools in PowerPoint. What we're doing here is kind of cycling through the different features of the Chart Express portion of the Mercury toolbar in Excel. It allows you to change the chart format or chart type pretty easily. Change the color scheme right there with that button. But every time you click that, it will go to a small chart and you'll lose some of your formatting, so beware. Moving on to PowerPoint, we'll show you some of the features of Mercury within PowerPoint. You have two tabs. Primarily, you will use the text box feature. Right there, standard text box, that's standard format. You can add a bunch of random graphics, text boxes, different things you can use. Notes and sources to put below your tables. For example, right here. Make sure those are consistent and aligned throughout your PowerPoint. Keynote highlight box allows you to call out a certain item. You will hear them called call out boxes. Allows you to highlight a certain thing. When you're doing these, make sure they're aligned and not crossing over text or data values. If you have multiple on the same slide, make sure they're the same size, aligned. Make sure they're not sloppy. When the connector bar is green on each end, that means it's connected and you can drag around each of the boxes without losing the connection. So here's an example of nicely aligned call-out boxes, not going through text or anything. Don't like to see them like this because it looks sloppy. In the format feature of PowerPoint, you can go into the shapes and edit the sizes very precisely, similar to the row height feature in Excel by right-clicking the column. So what I'm doing here is I'm just messing things up in a way that we would like to see it, and then realigning it to the way it would look nice. So here you can align it manually, or you can go into the format feature as I just discussed. So right there in the top right, you can edit the dimensions of the box to make sure each box is the same size. And as you can tell, the PowerPoint program puts in alignment grid lines, as you can tell from the red dotted lines and the arrows that just showed up. You know it's aligned and equally spaced once those show up. But these take a little bit of work to get perfect. But putting in the work makes it look better in the end. If you can't get things to align perfectly from a 100% view, you can blow the PowerPoint up to maybe 150, and you can be a little more precise when you drag the call-out boxes around. Some things you don't want to do. You don't want no space between the purple and the font of the upper text box. You want a space there. There is a specific bullet format that we use. You do not want a sub-bullet that is a circle like the top bullet. Sometimes when you copy that in from another document or whatnot, it will show up in a non-dash format, and that is not good. You need to be consistent throughout the PowerPoint. This text box on the right-hand side is aligned, but when you review reports, you may see instances where someone spaced it by hitting enter or just ignored a space altogether. That is not consistent. The text on each side does not align. So the best bet is to insert a new text box from the Mercury tool and delete that first row while retaining the space. Then it's lined up. Also, you do not want to exceed the grid lines like we did just there. You want it to end perfectly before the grid line. Another thing that you should do with text boxes, if you have a table between areas of text, start a new text box. Don't hit enter a bunch of times and then write what you're going to write, because you won't be able to click the table underneath the text box. So when you try to update it through Mercury, you can't click on it. It's easier just to put in a new text box and it's cleaner. Can't click on it unless you move the text box. If someone asks you to toggle the grid and remove the draft stamp, you can do that through the functions option. If the functions are not working, you go to the Mercury Tools master grid, slide master, where you can access the grid lines, delete them, and delete the draft stamp. The problem is you cannot toggle them back once they are deleted. You'll have to copy those back in from another PowerPoint, but that is kind of the option of last resort. You can also edit the footer within the top slide. You cannot access it from any other slide. You have to edit on that first one. So that's it. That's